so that it's leaner and more efficient and more responsive to the American people. I want to reform the tax code so that it's simple, fair, and ask the wealthiest households to pay higher taxes on incomes over $250,000. The same rate we had when Bill Clinton was president, the same rate we had when our economy created nearly 23 million new jobs, the biggest surplus in history, and a whole lot of millionaires to boot. Now, I'm still eager to reach an agreement based on the principles of my bipartisan debt commission. No party has a monopoly on wisdom. No democracy works without compromise. I want to get this done, and we can get it done. But when Governor Romney and his friends in Congress tell us we can somehow lower our deficits by spending trillions more on new tax breaks for the wealthy, well, what Bill Clinton call it? You do the arithmetic. You do the math. I refuse to go along with that. And as long as I'm president, I never will. I refuse to ask middle-class families to give up their deductions for owning a home or raising their kids just to pay for another millionaire's tax cut. I refuse to ask students to pay more for college or kick children out of Head Start programs to eliminate health insurance for millions of Americans who are poor and elderly or disabled. Also, those with the most can pay less. I'm not going along with that. And I will never turn Medicare into a voucher. No American should ever have to spend their golden years at the mercy of insurance companies. They should retire with the care and the dignity that they have earned. Yes, we will reform and strengthen Medicare for the long haul, but we'll do it by reducing the cost of health care, not by asking seniors to pay thousands of dollars more. And we will keep the promise of Social Security by taking the responsible steps to strengthen it, not by turning it over to Wall Street. This is the choice we now face. This is what the election comes down to. Over and over, we've been told by our opponents that bigger tax cuts and fewer regulations are the only way. That since government can't do everything, it should do almost nothing. If you can't afford health insurance, hope that you don't get sick. If a company releases toxic pollution into the air your children breathe, well, that's the price of progress. If you can't afford to start a business or go to college, take my opponent's advice and borrow money from your parents. You know what? That's not who we are. That's not what this country's about. As Americans, we believe we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, rights that no man or government can take away. We insist on personal responsibility, and we celebrate individual initiative. We're not entitled to success. We have to earn it. We honor the strivers, the dreamers, the risk takers, the entrepreneurs who have always been the driving force behind our free enterprise system, the greatest engine of growth and prosperity that the world's ever known. But we also believe in something called citizenship. Citizenship, a word at the very heart of our founding, a word at the very essence of our democracy. The idea that this country only works when we accept certain obligations to one another and to future generations. We believe that when a CEO pays his auto workers enough to buy the cars that they build, the whole company does better. We believe that when a family can no longer be tricked into signing a mortgage they can't afford, that family's protected, but so is the value of other people's homes. And so is the entire economy. We believe the little girl who's offered an escape from poverty by a great teacher or a grant for college could become the next Steve Jobs, or the scientist who cures cancer, or the President of the United States, and it is in our power to give her that chance. We know that churches and charities can often make more of a difference than a poverty program alone. We don't want handouts for people who refuse to help themselves, and we certainly don't want bailouts for banks that break the rules. We don't think that government can solve all of our problems, but we don't think that the government is the source of all of our problems, any more than our welfare recipients, or corporations, or unions, or immigrants, or gays, or any other group we're told to blame for our troubles. Because America, we understand that this democracy is ours. We, the people, recognize that we have responsibilities as well as rights, that our destinies are bound together, that a freedom which asks only what's in it for me, a freedom without a commitment to others, a freedom without love or charity or duty or patriotism is unworthy of our founding ideals and those who died in their defense. As citizens, we understand that America is not about what can be done for us, it's about what can be done by us, together, through the hard and frustrating but necessary work of self-government. That's what we believe. So you see, the election 4 years ago wasn't about me. It was about you. My fellow citizens, you were the change. You're the reason there's a little girl with a heart disorder in Phoenix who'll get the surgery she needs because an insurance company can't limit her coverage. You did that. You're the reason a young man in Colorado who never thought he'd be able to afford his dream of earning a medical degree is about to get that chance. You made that possible. You're the reason a young immigrant who grew up here and went to school here and pledged allegiance to our flag will no longer be deported from the only country she's ever called home. Why selfless soldiers won't be kicked out of the military because of who they are or who they love. Why thousands of families have finally been able to say to the loved ones who served us so bravely, welcome home. Welcome home. You did that. You did that. You did that. If you turn away now, if you buy into the cynicism that the change we fought for is impossible, well, change will not happen. If you give up on the idea that your voice can make a difference, then other voices will fill the void. The lobbyists and special interests, the people with the $10 million checks who are trying to buy this election, and those who are trying to make it harder for you to vote. Washington politicians who want to decide who you can marry or control health care choices that women should be making for themselves. Only you can make sure that doesn't happen. Only you. have the power to move us forward. You know, I recognize that times have changed since I first spoke to this convention. Times have changed, and so have I. I'm no longer just a candidate. I'm the president. And that means I know what it means to send young Americans into battle. For I've held in my arms the mothers and fathers of those who didn't return. I've shared the pain of families who've lost their homes and the frustration of workers who've lost their jobs. If the critics are right that I've made all my decisions based on polls, then I must not be very good at reading them. And while I'm very proud of what we've achieved together, I'm far more mindful of my own failings, knowing exactly what Lincoln meant when he said, "I have been driven to my knees many times by the overwhelming conviction that I had no place else to go." But as I stand here tonight, I have never been more hopeful about America. Not because I think I have all the answers, not because I'm naive about the magnitude of our challenges. I'm hopeful because of you. The young woman I met at a science fair who won national recognition for her biology research while living with her family at a homeless shelter, she gives me hope. The auto worker who won the lottery after his plant almost closed but kept coming to work every day and bought flags for his whole town and one of the cars that he built to surprise his wife, he gives me hope. The family business in Warroad, Minnesota that didn't lay off a single one of their 4,000 employees when the recession hit, even when their competitors shut down dozens of plants, even when it meant the owner gave up some perks and some pay, because they understood that their biggest asset was the community and the workers who had helped build that business. They give me hope. I think about the young sailor I met at Walter Reed Hospital, still recovering from a grenade attack that would cause him to have his leg amputated above the knee. And 6 months ago, we would watch him walk into a White House dinner honoring those who served in Iraq. Tall and 20 pounds heavier, dashing in his uniform, with a big grin on his face, sturdy on his new leg. And I remember how a few months after that, I would watch him on a bicycle, racing with his fellow wounded warriors on a sparkling spring day, inspiring other heroes who had just begun the hard path he had traveled. He gives me hope. He gives me hope. I don't know what party these men and women belong to. I don't know if they'll vote for me. But I know that their spirit defines us. They remind me in the words of Scripture that ours is a future filled with hope. And if you share that faith with me, if you share that hope with me, I ask you tonight for your vote. If you reject the notion that this nation's promise is reserved for the few, your voice must be heard in this election. If you reject the notion that our government is forever beholden to the highest bidder, you need to stand up in this election. if you believe that new plants and factories can dot our landscape, that new energy can power our future, that new schools can provide ladders of opportunity to this nation of dreamers, if you believe in a country where everyone gets a fair shot and everyone does their fair share and everyone plays by the same rules, then I need you to vote this November. America, I never said this journey would be easy, and I won't promise that now. Yes, our path is harder, but it leads to a better place. Yes, our road is longer, but we travel it together. We don't turn back. We leave no one behind. We pull each other up. We draw strength from our victories, and we learn from our mistakes, but we keep our eyes fixed on that distant horizon, knowing that Providence is with us and that we are surely blessed to be citizens of the greatest nation on earth. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless these United States.
You are looking at video of President Obama's acceptance speech. As you can hear, the crowd is going wild for the President of the United States. He just finished delivering his speech in the Time Warner Cable Arena to an ecstatic crowd.
It's interesting, everyone's been moved inside because of the weather and they were worried about accommodating everybody, but the place is packed, and as you can see, they've been very enthusiastic all night, and this is a great culmination to the whole week and the whole Democratic National Convention.
Had some great quotes. One of his most powerful lines was, "America, I never said this journey would be easy, and I won't promise that now. Yes, our path is harder, but it leads to a better place."
It's very cool to see kind of this family environment and these people all gathered together, regardless of political party, whether at the RNC or the DNC. And he says that the nation's promise is for all and for everyone, and that we don't have the right to withhold that from anyone. So that was an interesting talking point.
And the crowd is going crazy in the Time Warner Cable Arena. Confetti is flying, and we thank you for joining us tonight for our coverage. We're going to go over a couple key highlights of his speech. As you know, he made a couple big promises. One of his major promises was an end to the war in Afghanistan by 2014. And he also promised the strongest military the world has ever seen.
I think that's an interesting kind of claim from a Democratic president coming from the left to say that they're still going to keep this army and this military force and build it up even more. And I think that's an interesting comment coming from the left.
Absolutely, and he did make a reference to Steve Jobs joining Mitt Romney as both presidential candidates referencing the late CEO of Apple.
I think it's interesting to see the correlations because so much of it is different. The fact that they do have something in common in this man who was such an innovator is pretty cool.
Right, and he also said that he is offering a better path. He said that we are less dependent on foreign oil. And another quote he had earlier today was, "If you believe in a country where everyone gets a fair shot and everyone does their fair share and everyone plays by the same rules, then I need you to vote in November." And now we're going to check with our social media guru, Steve. What did you have for us?
Absolutely. Well, obviously a lot going on Twitter. During the speech, it was more of the quotes that he had said, President Obama had said during the speech. Beforehand, Zach Braff, who is a actor on the TV show Scrubs, said, "Switch over from the VMAs. This is too important." Now, heading into the actual speech, though, Obama obviously had a few big quotes, and you mentioned one of them. Another one he had mentioned that was getting retweeted and tweeted all over the place. "A new tower rises above the New York skyline. Al-Qaeda is on the path to defeat, and Osama bin Laden is dead." And obviously the crowd went crazy for that. A little bit later he said, "I'm no longer just a candidate, I'm the president." So a lot of these quotes were tweeted and retweeted. There were some comments on both sides of support for Obama. One tweet here says basically it's skeptical whether Obama can sort of hold true to some of his words and some of the things that he expects to be able to do. And he said, "Too bad it's impossible to believe Obama here. Sounds good, but huge credibility gap." On the other side of that, there's a lot of people inspired by the speech and happy with it. They say it's a very good speech by Obama, though. He's rallying to get the common American vote by speaking about things average people relate to. A lot of people had to talk about how he's a good speaker speaker, and he doesn't stutter, and he always, knows what to say, and it sounded real good, and it was, very strong. When we were watching it, obviously at some points he really got, his voice loud, and that was great to see. And just a few other things to mention. One gentleman seemed to want to be getting an Obama tattoo tonight. I think he'll be getting an Obama tattoo from the speech, and a lot of people are tearing up at certain parts of the speech that he had just because of how inspiring it really was. So a lot of different things going on Twitter, a lot of quotes, and a lot of good stuff.
Thank you for that, Steve. Wonderful dealing with you tonight, and thank you for checking the feed for us.
No problem.
So we are back right now. Just came out of President Barack Obama's acceptance speech. Some powerful quotes. Crowd getting rowdy at times, chanting USA, USA, and 4 more years. Very powerful speech by the president.
Stay with us in November, because we'll also have coverage of the national election on, I think it's the 6th. And we'll have a whole show there as well, a live show all day.
Live show, and we will not rest until all the results are reported. For now, I'm Joe Bruno.
I'm Katie Merrigy.
And for Steve Roth, we thank you for joining us for this special broadcast, and thank you for joining us for our coverage of the Democratic National Convention.
Be sure to check our website for all of the stories and updates as we keep bringing them to you. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Stay with us throughout the week for all the news that matters to you.
From all of us here at ELN, have a great weekend, Elon.